This is Robbie Dillmore from the Christian Car Guy and Kingdom Pursuit, where we hear how God takes your passion and uses it to build a kingdom. Your chosen Truth Network podcast is starting in just a few seconds. Enjoy it and share it. But most of all, thank you for listening and for choosing the Truth Podcast Network.
Welcome to Truth Talk Live.
All right, let's talk.
The truth is, I can't hide it, I can't hold it no more.
A daily program powered by the Truth Network.
This is kind of a great thing, and I'll tell you why.
Where pop culture, current events, and theology all come together.
Speak
Your mind.
And now, here's today's Truth Talk Live host.
Okay, we are bringing the truth to you every day, bringing the truth right here, right now, and it's going to get pretty interesting today because we're going to talk about the KKK. That's right, on this program right now. And I'm going to ask you a simple question. What if I told you the KKK has been demonstrating on all these college campuses, students from Columbia University, UCLA, Portland State, Cal Berkeley, the University of North Carolina, Chapel Hill, UNC, y'all, you Tar Heel fans, the KKK is active on all these campuses. What if I told you they're protesting, they're burning American flags, and they're not saying death to black people, they're saying death to the Jews, death to Israel. And I want to ask you this, follow up to that. What's different? How is it any different? How is it not absolute, evil, dark, pure racism that's happening all across our land? Where they're burning American flags. They're burning the Israeli flag, a nation consisting of Jewish people, the Hebrews, the Israelites, a unique, distinct ethnicity. How is it saying death to Jews is any worse than saying death to black people? 866-348-7884. I want to hear from you. Tell me how I'm wrong. Tell me how this is not absolutely evil racism. And tell me why our national media is completely turning a blind eye to it. Tell me how tell me why who's paying for it? George Soros. If you say George Soros, he's a member of a progressive thinking group that funds progressive protest. That's one thing. If you said that George Soros was a ringleader of the KKK, a knight of the KKK, and you put a white cap with holes because he doesn't want his face to be seen. Like these people are wearing masks. They don't want their face to be seen on these campuses, on our college campuses. Students that are getting hundreds of thousands of dollars from our government, getting their education bill expunged. They're getting their college bills forgiven, their student aid forgiven, are protesting at their student. A Jewish student was trying to go back to his dorm room and was blocked on the campus of UCLA by protesters. Another Jewish student goes into his dorm room, and on the leaderboard inside his dorm room, where people write happy birthday, or they write, hey, let's do a study hall to study chemistry together on the 5th floor, or meet me at the coffee shop, someone wrote, shame on you. A Jewish kid. How is this different than the KKK and the racism thereof? And if you don't know what I'm talking about, just turn on the news. It's everywhere. Of course, if you're watching, if your diet is CNN and MSNBC and ABC and CBS or one of the main networks, then you're not going to, you'll see a very dumbed down version of this. But this is people attacking people. This is getting violent. Encampments. VCU. We have listeners in Richmond, Virginia to the Truth Network, 97.7 FM, AM 590 in Richmond, Virginia. VCU has some pretty aggressive, pretty rough protesting going on. And this is all in the name of death to Jewish people, death to Israel, attacking, slandering a race of people. How is this any better? How is this not the same as the racism fomented by people that in our country owned and hated black people? Horrible, evil, sinful, just terrible. And yet, why is this going on? And is anyone else making this comparison besides this concerned, not so bright talk show host hosting Truth Talk Live today? I'm Stu Epperson, and I'm glad you are along from the ride. We talk about truth, we talk about pop culture, we talk about current events, and we tie it all together with theology. And welcome to the program. I've got some headlines. I'm going to read them to you. I'm going to give the number, and you tell me how this is any different. The racism against Jewish people in America that is perfectly legal, that is supported and paraded and celebrated. And our president hasn't even condemned this racism against Jewish people. And President Obama and the Black Lives Matter people that rallied, that called everyone a racist. And if you're, and how dare you, right? They're nowhere to be found. Where are they? Where are the supporters of DEI? Where are the supporters of equity where is their outcry at people in their country, on their campuses, students calling for the death of Israel and the death of Jewish people? Where is the outcry? So is it okay to be racist toward Jewish people, but not okay to be racist toward black people? You tell me. What's wrong with this picture? 866-348-7884 if you want to call in and have a conversation with me. And, the deeper issue is, how do we find healing? I mean, it's got to break your heart to see these kids, 18, 22 years old, wearing masks, protesting, throwing things at law enforcement. Why are they calling in the National Guard? Why are they calling in all this law enforcement at UNC Chapel Hill? Go Heels. Whatever happened to that? They're calling in law enforcement at that campus. And here's what set all this off. Here's what set it off. You ready? A terrorist group called Hamas attacked and burned and murdered over 1,000 people in Gaza on October 7th. And they still have 20 or so, I don't know the exact number, of American hostages that are being held and tortured. They've murdered some. And they still have Jewish hostages. A bunch of them are being held hostage. And the outcry isn't to turn over those hostages. The outcry is kill the Jews. Burn the Israeli flag. How is it different than the KKK and the racist bigotry of that organization on our college campuses right now? 866-348-7884. More to come right here on Truth Talk Live. Hang on.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
Okay, I know we're striking a nerve, and I have yet to have someone tell me I'm wrong, and I'm ready for you to tell me I'm wrong. I will listen. I will be respectful. You may say, Stu, you're completely all wet. This is what I'm about to post on my Instagram. I'm only thinking that if I post it, my whole account, Nick, might get taken off. But this is what I'm about to post. Listen to this. This is right here. I'm about to post this. Listen.
Is racism alive and well on the college campus? I'm not talking about the KKK and their hatred toward African Americans. I'm talking about the hatred toward Jews and the kids that are protesting, crying death to Israel on the Columbia campus. Cal Berkeley, UNC, North Carolina, on the air right now. Call in. We're talking about it. How is that any different? Racism is evil anywhere, anytime, everywhere. But where are the people that are against racism now when the Jews are being racially profiled?
Okay, so think about this with me, okay? Suppose you turn on your TV like I did this morning with my wife, and I'm trying to have some conversation. I'm getting set for the day, having some prayer, and she's like, well, let's check the news. And they're right there in front of us. We turn on the TV. But supposing you turn on the TV, and there were a bunch of white men dressed in the regalia of the KKK. I mean, the full capes, and the full pointed hats with the little eye holes, and and all that stuff. And supposing they were burning crosses, and they were at the campuses of Columbia University in New York City. They were at the campuses of Princeton and Cal Berkeley and UCLA, and supposing they were crying death to black people. Now, what would happen then? I'm going to tell you, I'm just going to tell you. We all know what would happen. And that is evil. And that is atrocious. And there should be some absolute bring the law down on these people. That's racism. That's hate. That's not what this country's about. Now, rewind the tape 40 years ago. That's what was happening. There was there was a more visible, there's still racism today, but not like that. I mean, that was horrible. But hold on a second. That's not what we saw. We didn't see the KKK parading around college campuses today. This morning when I woke up and I'm watching the news, we saw people saying death to the Jews, death to Israel. We saw a bunch of kids doing something in a racially intensive and incensed manner, attacking verbally and in some cases physically, like not even allowing a Jewish professor into the cafeteria, into the common area at Columbia University. They say, well, you can go over here, but you can't go over here. He's like, I'm a professor here. So I want to know how it's different. Is it different? Stu, are you just being too simple-minded? Which is not going to be the first time I was accused of being simple-minded. I mean, I have patented the KISS method, keep it simple, Stu. But I'm just a simple guy who loves my country, loves my Savior, and I'm sitting here thinking, if that was the KKK out there saying death to black people, man, we would be in an uproar. We should be. But there's no outcry from these universities who claim to be racially harmonious against these students that are crying death to Jewish people, students that are now kids are being bullied. They interviewed one Jewish student after another this morning on the news, on Fox News, who was being bullied because they're Jewish. Now, if that is not racism, and if the people that propose Black Lives Matter, where are you people? The people that propose DEI and equity, where are you people? Where is your outcry against this racism? Where is President Barack Obama? Where is your outcry against this awful, atrocious racism? Where is your cry for justice and equity and equality right now, sir? Maybe a woke pastor who is into all that. Maybe he'll speak out against the racism in our country right now on our college campuses. You're paying this nice money. I'm going to read an Al Mohler commentary in a little bit. Oh, this is rich. I mean, listen. Oh, I got to get my kid into that school. Listen, you parents, you know who you are. I'm kind of one of you. I'm no better, and let's see here. I got to put this promo up here. I'm going to have to put this on my, I went into my Instagram to look at this Al Mohler thing, and I'm going to save it as a draft. There we go. Now I can pull the Mohler thing up. I mean, listen to what he said. You work your whole life. You got to get your kid into those schools. And let me tell you what, if you want your kid to get into any secular college today, just about 90% of them, okay? The statistics are, they're there. They're obvious. They're concrete. I mean, the left controls the university system by and large. There are some good, solid Christian colleges. We've talked about them on this program. We've interviewed their presidents on this program. We've interviewed their leaders. There's some wonderful. There are some conservative. I was just on the campus of a conservative, not overtly Christian college, but conservative, very much non-racist, like these far left universities that are socialist. I mean, these are the beacon of Marxism for our country is the university system. It's rampant. Columbia University, you want to be a socialist? Pay them a whole lot of money to teach your kid how to be a Marxist, how to be a socialist, how to be a communist. That's what they teach there. They hate America. They hate this beautiful, free country. And now they are propagating and promoting and supporting pure, unfiltered racism. And don't act shocked. Don't act surprised. Albert Mohler, he says it really well. I'm going to pull him up. Here he is. First, I follow him stuff. It's really good. I mean, it's just remarkable. The chaos engulfing elite college campuses across America should surprise no one. The sight of privileged university students chanting from the river to the sea, calling for the end of American support of Israel, was absolutely predictable. This is exactly what happens when the ideological left is in the driver's seat and leftist students are all too ready to go along for the ride. Just look at New York's famed Columbia University. You want to get your kid into Columbia? Yeah, Ivy League. Oh, my kid got to Columbia. Hey, I'm at the golf course. I'm at the club here. Hey, buddy. Hey, let me say a little louder so they can hear me the next day. Well, my kid got to Columbia. This was founded as a college by the Church of England and later the Historic School of American Patriots. Like many elite institutions, it has a long history of anti-Semitism. Fast forward to 2024. The same scenes now flood back, with students protesting and leftism ascendant. This time, the anger is directed at the state of Israel. And students have styled themselves as liberationist allies of the Palestinians, who they present as victims of Israel's settler colonialism. But listen carefully. And some are demanding an end to Israel itself. What is unclear is that the students now condemning Israel are products of an elite American academic industry that offers leftist ideologies as its main product. By the way, our whole administration is run by Marxist, communist, leftist. Now, that is not an attack. That's a statement of fact. And I would tell me I'm wrong. That's not a propaganda. This is not a political talk show. This is a Christian talk show. Why would I be a bit leery of communism, Marxism, socialism? Because they're all driven by atheism. Their God is the government. The government has all the solutions. Our country was founded on freedom, and this is like our founders are turning in their grave. So I'm going to read more of this Mohler thing. I'm going to take your calls to answer the simple question: how is the racism on the college campus today any different than the KKK? 866-34-TRUTH. More coming up.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
You know, you think about the violence of the 60s. You think about MLK Jr. and his powerful messages and his peaceful protests and all the people that came to his aid. You know, it took one person to stand up, and more people started standing up. And then you think about how much progress we've made. And sadly, we have replete racism right now in your face on the college campus. If you haven't seen the news, just go turn on Fox News, and this is just a camera showing students saying death to Jews. And I'm simply asking this question: how is that any different than the KKK 30, 40 years ago on the college campus with their capes, with their pointed hats and their eye holes with a mask on? And a lot of these kids, by the way, have masks. They don't want their face to be seen. Well, why not? Why don't you stand behind your evil racism, saying, burning the Israeli flag, saying death to Israel, burning the American flag? You know, your fine Marxist president just forgave all your student loan, and this is how you repay him, by saying death to America. And here you are, Columbia University, Cal State Berkeley, UCLA, UNC, just name it, VCU in Richmond, all these schools, Princeton, the Princeton University faculty. Listen to this. This is kind of what's going on here. I mean, if a kid was openly saying, I hate black people, death to all black people, what would the Princeton University faculty do? Well, in this case, let me tell you what they're doing. The Princeton faculty has demanded the record of arrested students saying death to Jews, be expunged. Students are being reinstated right back to the university. This is just go read the story at National Review. I mean, you can't make this stuff up. The president's not speaking out against it. The White House isn't condemning this open, blatant racism. And how is this any different? I can tell you right now, if the KKK came back alive and they were back doing this on the campus, there would be a World War III breaking out. And citizens would step up like they did in the 60s when they stood alongside. A lot of pastors got up and stood up for the truth about the evil of racism. And even today, pastors are speaking out, and they should. And racism is sin. Anytime, anywhere, all the time. But yet it's going on in open air at the university. How many parents, how many kids at my Christian school say, I want my kid to go to Carolina. My kid got into Carolina. Well, go to Carolina and you'll see a bunch of students out there saying death to the Jews, death to Israel, and a bunch of professors that aren't so sympathetic with Israel. A bunch of Marxism and a bunch of communism happening there. I'm not saying there aren't some great, good, wonderful students there, and I'm not saying it'll destroy your faith necessarily, but I'm just saying we continue to send and pay these schools to educate our kids, and now you have this rampant racism at these college campuses. And by the way, go to Liberty University last week. Massive, multi-thousand kids outside, and they had their hands up too, but they were worshiping God. A huge open air. Not one news. I think maybe one news channel covered it. Oh, you didn't see it anywhere on any other mainstream media. Massive worship service. My daughter was there, witnessing it, a part of it, and they were celebrating God Almighty. And there were black students and white students and Asian students and Hispanic students. It was beautiful. And yet there is this rampant racism at these schools. Everyone's like, oh, I got to get my kid in Ivy League. Well, really? You want to pay them to indoctrinate your child into communism and Marxism, because that's exactly what they're doing. And are you surprised? Al Mohler's not surprised. I just read part of his article before the break. I'll read more as we get into the show. But I just want to, am I all wet to make this connection? Am I like going way too far? Am I pushing it? Is this just another Stu Shock Radio moment to ask the question, how is it any different, the anti-Jew, anti-Israel racism on our college campuses across America, where they're shaming, they're blocking, a kid couldn't even go to the cafeteria to get his lunch today. They interviewed him because he's Jewish. He goes into his room, and on his board at this secular university, another student found his room, found his address, found out he was a Jew, and wrote, "Shame on you." I mean, this is a leaderboard, a personal board that you write, "Hey, meet me for coffee down in the quad." He wrote, "Shame on." I mean, this kid's like, they know where I live. These are my fellow students. If that happened to our black students, that blatantly, that openly, I mean, there would be an all-out, this would be like, they would cut into this show and make news announcements about it going on. But there's silence. Where's Black Lives Matter? Where's the DEI people? Where's President Obama leading the charge? This is racism. It's got to stop. Silence. Crickets. 866-34-TRUTH. What say you? Am I all wet in this comparison? Or are we seeing a rampant, repackaged racism thanks to socialism? And George Soros, who is really, he could be the modern day knight of the KKK, because he is paying cash money, follow the money, to agitate and to get these kids out there to demonstrably, and he funded a whole lot of the Antifa too, by the way. This is just a little different variation, or is it? Is that too radical of a comparison? Let's go to Ohio. Let's talk to Buck there, 866-34-TRUTH. I'm gonna be glad to take a caller and just to let myself breathe. You're feeling the passion today, Buck. You got to help me out here, my friend.
Brother, I got you lock, stock, and barrel. I'm fully behind you. Thanks, Stu, for saying what you're saying. Take a break, brother. Breathe a little bit. And I'll be honest with you, Stu. I'm a little concerned why this topic isn't being addressed by we Christians out here to call your program and give either a yay or nay to what you're saying, Stu. I talked to your screener, and I said, am I the only one in the queue? And your screener said, yep, Busman, you're the only one in the queue. And I'll be honest with you, Stu, you're in prime time. You're speaking our language out here that I hear other Christians talk about, standing around our water coolers here in everywhere America, but they're not speaking out even on a radio program, bolstering up a bold Christian like you, sir, to say, you know what, Stu, you've got a great topic. Let's talk this over. As the Bible says, let's get together and reason together. Stu, I am 100% behind you. And all I would say is if I had children of mine that were attending, especially Columbia Stu, I would pull my kid out. I would have to stop writing the checks. I would not. I would say, son, honey, we're going to go to a different school. I know you wanted to go to Columbia. They got a great program for what you wanted to study, but we cannot, as Christians, support what's going on there and what these people that's supposed to be in the authority of the college allowing these kids to do.
Well, it's just pure unadulterated racism. I mean, how is it not racism? And what about the Jewish kid who's about in tears this morning? They were interviewing him on Fox News, and they said, "Well, what are you going to do?" He says, well, "I'm just going to go home. I'm getting my stuff. I'm going home." I came here to learn. I came here to sit in a classroom of Asian students, Jewish students, Palestinian students, black students, white students. I came here to learn, econ, biology, all grammar, syntax, literature, all these great things, the arts, liberal arts. I came here to learn, and now they want me dead. Correct. And not one person stand up and saying this is evil racism. How about pastors? How many pastors are speaking out against this racism? I'd like to know that and answer that question.
I would like that. The pastors, where are you in the Columbia University area? Where are you?
Well, it's not just Columbia, man. It's UCLA, it's UNC, it's all these schools. And I'm not saying all these schools are implicit in it, but I'm saying that their students are openly protesting. So I'm kind of wondering, and where is the outcry of the racism? And if it were the KKK, and if it were saying death to black people instead of death to Jewish people, we know the outcry would be absolutely deafening. But where's the outcry? 866-348-7884. Let's talk to Janet, another Ohio caller. We got some, Buxman set it off. We got some people, the lines are just about loaded. I've got a line open at 866-348-7884 if you want to join the conversation. And if you want to disagree with me, Janet, you may be calling to call me on the carpet. Go ahead. Welcome to the show.
Not at all. It is no different. God says in the Bible that he will bless them that bless thee and curse them that curse thee, and he is talking about Israel. Any university that does that, if you don't know better by now as a Christian, you do now, and so it's your duty to get your kids out of there. Stop paying good money for them to turn your kids into Marxist and communist, and that's what this is. This is international people shipped in. They are not students. Okay, they're not all students. Let me tell you, they're not. They're being shipped in from out of state, in fact, even out of the country, into D.C. This is what they did in 2020, and they're going to do it times 2020 times 20 in 2024. That's what they're trying to do before this next election.
Well, I could tell you. Well, let me make this statement. The horrible thing that happened to George Floyd in 2020, I guarantee every pulpit in America condemned that. But how many pulpits are condemning the rampant racism that has been fomented by all these students at all these universities, throwing things at cops? They're throwing large bottles of projectiles at cops at the VCU campus in Richmond, Virginia. Janet, thank you for your call. More coming up on this. How is it different than the KKK? We'll be right back on Truth Talk Live. Hang on.
You're listening to the Truth Network and truthnetwork.com.
Turn on Truth Network right now. That's what it's like for me during the breaks. I got to play this clip. You got this clip from Fox News. Listen to this poor little kid. This is the question all hour long. And by the way, I had to rebuke one of our Truth Warrior interns because he walked in with a diet drink loaded with all kinds of bad stuff. And here I am holding a Vine-tastic, refreshing, hydrating. This is just what's on the bottle. I'm just reading the facts. Grateful to our friends at LeBlue Ultra Pure Bottled Water for this new, and Mighty Muscadine for this new drink, Vine-tastic. You need, for all the information about all of their products, high in antioxidants, infusing the muscadine grape seeds and skins liquid extract in this drink, which I'm going to take a drink of right now on the air. This is going to carry me through the rest of the show. But I had to get on. I held my Vine-tastic. I said, hey, Baller Nation, why are you carrying that around when you could drink that? So thank you to our friends at MightyMuscadine.com. All the information there. You use promo code TRUTH. The promo code available to you is TRUTH, T-R-U-T-H, for extra savings on all of their products. And the people that support us, Underwriting Partners Ministries, Crossfire Ministries, that we did a great job yesterday with Robbie Dilmore and Monday Missions. They need to hear from you, and we're so glad that they partner with us to help us change lives. And this whole conversation today, for instance, we talk about the truth. The ugly face of racism has reared itself again on college campuses, coast to coast, Ivy League campuses like Columbia University. This is listen to this. Would you just listen to this? The Speaker of the House, Mike Johnson, went to the Columbia campus to speak some sense and was predictably shouted down. Imagine going to a campus and the KKK's there saying death to black people, and you're the Speaker of the House. You go say, "Hey, this has got to stop. No more of this." And they shouted him down, cursed him, everything. And so what did he do? He called for the Columbia president, Nimat Shafiq, to restore order to the campus or resign. Now she's under attack by other groups, right-wing groups from the right. Interesting. Who's the friend of the Jew here? Who's the friend of ending racism? Interesting. Not the left. They're feeding this. The leftist propaganda king is spending hard cash money to promote death to Israel, to support Hamas, which, is horrible. And they're saying death, kill the Jews. This is racism. How is this any worse? How is this any better than what the KKK has been doing and all of that? So here's the news. Your local college is almost certainly doing its best to look like Columbia University. This is Al Mohler's words, not mine. This is exactly how higher education has come in America. When you send your children and grandchildren to these schools and brag about juniors' admission to the elite university, you just understand what you're celebrating. Many of America's most elite universities are now experiencing a campus meltdown. Shame on anyone who claims this comes as a surprise. Well, I just wanted my kid in there. Well, everyone's going there. Everyone's going to the blank school. Well, why? What are you going to learn there? Well, I want them to go there and save souls. Well, you don't go to school to save souls. You go to school to learn. So are you going to learn from a socialist Marxist? Are you going to learn from a leftist, Karl Marx? Are you going to maybe go to a school and learn from a C.S. Lewis, a godly man who will prepare you and challenge you, a godly professor, male or female? But this is a product of our modern education. And I'm not shocked if unbelievers get this wrong, but do Christians have any excuse? And then you expect a different outcome. Racism on the college campus. Listen to what this poor kid said. Nick found the clip. Listen to this from Fox News this morning. This kid, they asked him about this. Go ahead, Nick, play this.
Okay, on UCLA's campus, a student wearing a Star of David necklace is denied entry to the campus by masked pro-Palestinian activists.
We're going this way. You guys have closed the entrance. We are UCLA students. I have my ID right here. I'm being blocked off, not by the security guard, but by you two. You three. Oh, look, they're making their burger while I'm going this way. Excuse me. This is what they do. Everybody, look at this. Look at this. I'm a UCLA student. I deserve to go here. We pay tuition. This is our school. And they're not letting me walk in.
Unbelievable, but it happened, and this is the man that it happened to. Eli Sivis joins us now. Eli, you looked like you knew what was about to happen, and it took all your composure that you could muster not to bull your way in. Can you bring us back to that moment?
Of course, absolutely. Thank you for having me. So I take the same path to class every single day, and when I got there, it was blocked off by these students, not a security guard, but by these students. I showed them my ID and I said, "This is the way I entered a class. Please let me in." When they refused, I quickly understood what was happening. I handed my phone to my fellow Jewish friend, and he started filming so we could document exactly what was happening.
And who were those people who were denying you access to your space?
They could have been UCLA students. They could not have been. I honestly would not be surprised if they were not UCLA students, but they were part of the pro-Hamas mob that has taken over our school.
Mm-hmm. Were you tempted just to divide them? I mean, because you're larger than they are. It looks like they're mostly women. Could you have just gotten through them, or did you decide not to do that?
We are for peace, and we will never barge through, because we know that we're better than them in that sense. And yeah, could I have? Absolutely. But I would rather have documented that so we could show the world exactly what is going on in universities in the United States.
Lawrence?
You know, Eli, I'm curious, and I posed this question to our anchors this morning on the couch. What would happen if this happens in any other minority group? Do you think that there would have been more outrage over this incident, Eli?
Absolutely, I do. I also think if it was an encampment that is not a pro-Hamas encampment, for example, say there was a KKK encampment happening, it would have been shut down immediately. And I think this really shows what's going on here at college universities in the United States, that we are allowing these students to spread their hatred, their bigotry, and their anti-Semitism against Jewish students all around the world. And many Jewish students, many, feel very unsafe.
Eli, do you think they even know what they're protesting? Do they understand the history of this region? Do they understand October 7th?
I think that a lot of them do understand, and they still choose to say what they say. We go to the #1 public school in the world. These people are smart. They are educated. They know what they're saying. They know what an intifada is. They want an intifada. They want to see the mass genocide of Jews.
You know, Eli, it's got to be complicated being you on that campus right now, because I'm sure some of the people in that group, or some of the people who support that group, either in public or private, they're your classmates. Some of them might be your teachers. And they don't, from what I've seen in some of these demonstrations, they don't like the fact that you're Jewish.
That's exactly correct. I mean, listen, I'm a theater major. I go into class and I see people wearing keffiyehs, and I have to work with them in a small classroom setting for the next 3.5 years. It's hard. I get dirty looks walking down the hallways. People are starting to recognize my face. They know who I am. I see people looking at me in dirty ways. But also Jewish students walk up to me and they thank me for what I'm doing. So as long as I am constantly advocating for the Jewish people, I feel like we're getting somewhere. We're doing good in this world.
Eli, what do your parents say? Are they worried for your safety?
Absolutely they are. I mean, just yesterday, I came back to my dorm room and somebody found out where I live, and they wrote on my whiteboard, "Shame on you." And I just think that this is the start of something that's going to escalate very, very quickly, because my face is really getting out there, and I would not be surprised if somebody tries something in the next couple of days.
Eli, keep us up to date, but the last question is, aren't these fundamentally anti-American initiatives too?
Absolutely. They constantly advocate for the destruction of our beautiful country. They burn the American flag. They are super anti-America. They are anti our government. They're anti-democracy. And shame on them for... Shame on UCLA, and shame on actually all college administrations for allowing them to continue what they're doing, because this is no longer about freedom of speech. This is now straight up about promoting aggression and hatred against Jewish people.
Eli, your star is rising. You're on the right side of this. We will stay with you.
And you,
thank you very much.
And you actually do not wear a mask on campus.
Right. You're proud of who you are.
Absolutely not. I'm proud of who I am.
Indeed.
I want them to see my face.
Indeed.
Eli, God bless you.
Basically, this kid, they asked him how he felt about this. He's like, I'm just going home. I'm done. It's like you go through all your life to get into college, to learn, and a college is supposed to be neutral ground, right? Not a harbinger for racism. And so we've made this connection. Let's grab a caller real quick. We got Jamal's been holding on for some time. If you want to call in and weigh in, and here's a great question for you. How do we end this awful racism? How can pastors speak up? You know, I'm hoping my Pastor Sunday will say something supportive of Israel and supportive of the Jewish people and how we're praying for them. You know, they're not perfect. They got issues, but how are we friends with Israel? And how are we supporting them? And how are we against this awful, atrocious racism? I mean, Israel's not out there. The Jews aren't out there chanting death to Palestinians. And I mean, if you were on a campus saying death to black people, I know your pastor would speak up and confront you. Well, how is this any better? 866-34-TRUTH, 866-348-7884. Don't have a lot of time left. We do have Jamal hanging on. Jamal, you're on Truth Talk Live with Stu. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thank you for taking my calls, Stu. Good shows always. Hope you guys are doing well. Try to hit on a few points. Quick question. First off, Jesus was Jewish himself, right? Came through the Jewish people.
That's right.
Okay. All right. So that's one. Dr. Martin Luther King said, an injustice anywhere is an injustice anywhere is an injustice everywhere. It also says in the Bible that we are to be our brother's keeper, which you do to the least of these, you've done to me. So those 3 points right there should be at least something of a beginning, or to lay some kind of groundwork on why we should support Jewish people, why we should support Israel. Because some people say, well, they've done so wrong, they have committed so many atrocities. Okay, all right. Well, is your house perfect? Are your people, your race perfect? So if none of us are perfect and there's an injustice somewhere, then we should call it out, period. On college campuses, politicians everywhere. You're right in saying, where's Barack Obama in this? Where's Black Lives Matter with this?
I mean, this is open racism. This is not just hidden. This is out there. And when George Floyd went down, and that was a horrible situation, man, there was an outcry everywhere. Conservative, liberal, Democrat, Republican. Man, this has got to stop. Horrible. And this gave rise to all kinds of riots and all that stuff. Well, where are the counter riots? Where are people rioting because of the racism on Columbia University's campuses, UNC's campus, VCU's campus, Cal State Berkeley, Portland State? Right. I mean, they're camping there. They're camping out, protesting, blocking Jewish students from getting into their area. I mean, this is like pre-Holocaust all over again.
Right.
Listen, Trump, Trump is not is absolutely no prince and no he's got all kinds of problems, but people aren't at his rallies saying death to America, death to Israel.
Exactly.
And
if you want to say the Democrats are those guys at the top, they don't represent our people down here. Okay, go to your local Democratic Party, go to your local pastor. Ask them what they think about that. And if they say they are against these protests, okay, ask them to ask their higher-ups. Why don't they speak up? So maybe there'll be a groundswell from both sides.
Yeah, and I'm not saying Democrats are not – I'm sure there's a lot of Democrats against this, as there are a lot of Republicans against this. As every believer in the Lord Jesus Christ, I mean, I don't expect someone who's driven by politics to totally understand this, but if you have Jesus in your life – and you recognize the only color that matters is the color of the blood is red, okay, that's the only color that matters, then you do get this, and you should loudly speak out in defense of the Jew, whether it's 1940s going into the Holocaust or in defense of the Jewish student who's trying to go to class at a university and people are attacking, maligning, and fomenting hate. You should speak out against anyone that's racially profiled attack. That's just pure evil. But there's nothing but crickets coming from our government and from the White House, and and now let's just see how hot the pulpits will be on this, and
that's true.
I mean, in the people protesting, they need the Lord just as much as the people they're protesting against. But that's not right. We're talking about like this open racism that's going unchecked and unchallenged. Is so sad. I appreciate your call, Jamal. Some sage points. Thank you, sir. Yes, sir. God bless you. We'll take one more quick call. Clay, if you can go quick, thanks for calling in. By the way, a big warm welcome to all of the new listeners on the new 88.3 FM, Spartanburg, Bowling Springs, Gaffney, all over the upstate of South Carolina that fits perfectly with the new 96.9 FM in the upstate. And our first caller, Nick, whoever our first caller is from 88.3 FM, we're going to give them something. I don't know what it is. We'll give them some true swag or something to thank them and to thank them for listening to the new 88.3 FM, the newest member of the Truth Network, Truth Talk Live family. Racism. How is what they're doing and saying death to the Jews at all over our college campuses in America today, how is that any better? How is that not the same as the KKK on college campuses 40 years ago saying death to black people? Someone tell me what's wrong with that comparison. Someone tell me that how it's any different. Let's go with Clay. Let's see what he says. Clay, what say you?
Brother Stu, I hope and pray you can hear this. There is no difference. I was with a group of people who were getting together from two different stores, and I received this notification saying that United States of America flag had been taken down from the campus of University of North Carolina. I hope and pray I really do hope and pray that people will take notice of this, because this is, I'm not too long ago on Truth Radio, and you probably remember this, Pastor David Jeremiah shared that we will not see a revival because there will be a rapture first. So it's just sad to me to hear things like this, because those people that are doing what they're doing, they're protesting, they're going against God, they don't know the truth. You and I, Brother Robbie, Brother Steve, everybody else, we know the truth. But it's really sad that people are like this, and we're getting closer and closer to seeing God the Father send His Son back. So, brother, I appreciate you.
God bless you. Thanks for that word, Clay. Sign of the times for sure. Appreciate all your calls today. Hey, if you're a believer, you have access to the Father, Hebrews 4, through the Son. So pray. No roaming charges. Pray for those that are being racially maligned. Pray for Israel, and pray for those protesting, and look for opportunities through this conversation to share the good news of Jesus Christ, who saves all.
Another program powered by the Truth Network.